All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Thriving in STEM, Cultivating Resilience and Mental Health Wellness, the continuation of our EARN 2025 Wellbeing Workshop presented by Dr. Shanita Brown, and our first of 3 webinar segments in our EARN 2025 summer series. I'm going to begin with a brief overview of the EARN conference, AAAS, and then I'll hand it off to Shanita to get us started. Just one moment here. All right. Okay, so the EARN conference is hosted by AAAS, the American Association for the Advancement of Science, and we are one of the world's largest multidisciplinary scientific societies and a leading publisher of cutting-edge research through Science, a family of journals. You can look through our mission and strategic goals and how the EARN conference falls under those by visiting our website, which I'll drop in the chat here in just a moment. For those of you who are not familiar, EARN stands for Emerging Researchers National Conference in STEM, and this year marked our 13th convening. The EARN conference is funded by the National Science Foundation under the HBCU UP grant and has 3 main goals and objectives: to prepare students for global STEM careers, to hone scientific communication skills, and to provide opportunities for students to engage in professional development and build community and belonging in STEM. A significant component of the conference is learning about your STEM research, but we also have professional development workshops like the one we're expanding upon today, career networking opportunities, different professional working groups, and we also work to illuminate the amazing scholars and speakers during our plenary sessions. We have much to get to this afternoon, so I'll wrap up by thanking our EARN conference project team that makes it all happen and provide details for our upcoming conference. So the dates have been set for EARN 2026, so mark your calendars for March 19th through 21st. We will once again be at the Hyatt Regency in Atlanta, and we hope to see you there. All right, so thank you all for joining today. The webinar is being recorded and will be distributed along with other resources shared within the presentation. So moving right along, we will be passing it off to Dr. Shanita Brown here. Just one moment. All right, whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Naya. Good afternoon, you all. Thank you so much. It is Wellness Wednesday. I'm so excited to return to ERN, to EARN, and to really discuss thriving in STEM, cultivating resilience, and mental health wellness. Next slide. Just a little bit about myself. I am a teaching assistant professor at East Carolina University. I am also a trauma counselor and as a licensed clinical mental health counselor supervisor in the state of North Carolina. I am trained in EMDR. I'm a speaker, an advocate, servant leader, and I'm also a learner, and I look forward to learning with you all today. Some of my work has been featured in media outlets such as Therapy for Black Girl, Essence, as well as scholarly platforms and journals as well. Next slide. I want you all to know that this is a brave space, meaning that this is a space where it's non-judgmental, it's safe for you all to ask questions, for you to provide feedback without fear, and definitely just clear to be who you are. So I just want to remind you all that this is a brave space to do that today. So the objectives, 3 goals here is that you be able to identify some of the common challenges unique to STEM majors. I want you to be able to recognize stress and the body's response to stress. And also you're going to gain some tools to enhance your overall emotional well-being and foster a growth mindset. Okay, so I would like for you to drop in the chat, what part of yourself would you like to improve? We're always growing and learning. And so, Naya, Claire, what do you see in the chat?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. Stress management
Mhm.
tools, belief in myself. That is a hard question. Jacqueline, yes. Being comfortable. I can't see it online. She said, what now?
Being comfortable with getting out of my comfort zone, health, another health. Practicing downtime and relaxation,
More
more
confident.
confident.
I will share one of the things that I would like to improve is just going to bed earlier. Last night I went to bed early and I got some good rest, so I would like to improve that, being consistent with my sleep schedule. That's important. It's important how I show up, how I feel, how I function. And if you're not well rested, everything else is off. I know that's for me. Thank you all for your participation. Okay, next slide, Naya. Okay, so next we're going to have more engagement. I'm going to ask 3 people to just state your name, your fun fact, and what is the most recent thing you did to support your mental health. And feel free to put that in the chat. Or if everybody wants to unmute themselves, they have that. You can do that. Your name, a fun fact, and what is the most recent thing you did to support your mental health. And what do we have in the chat, Naya?
Looks like we're still waiting on some responses as of right now, but if
Okay.
anyone would like to participate or share, please feel free to do so.
Okay, yes. I love avocados. I take walks. I love avocados too. The most recent thing I did to support my mental health, I went to the gym this morning. I went to work out. Touching grass more, the senses. Wow, yeah.
We have 2 comments, one from Alexander. I sing and I went to sleep early. So it looks like they relate to you on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have another participant. Fun fact, I like going on hikes. The most recent thing I did was read a book. And then we have another one, taking a vacation to Toronto. I think that's a fun fact and the most recent thing they did to support their mental health.
Yes, absolutely. I would like to take a hike, but I don't like bugs. I don't I don't so I want to try a hike, but I don't like bugs and being outside, so I guess I gotta rethink that one, right?
That's fair.
All right,
And
yeah.
our last chat here is from Michael, doing a non-work activity such as playing video games.
Yes, absolutely, yes. And we have one more, and we can.
All right, looks like we have Jackie here. The most recent thing I did was sit on the beach and listen to the waves for about an hour.
Yes, I just got back from the beach. I went to a conference and spent 4 days at the beach, and I listened to the waves. I fell asleep. It was just so relaxing to get away. I'm a Pisces and I love the water. Okay, next slide. Okay, so here's a story. I'm from a small rural town in eastern North Carolina called Kinston, and this is my best friend. We've been friends since high school, so over 30 years. And when you look at this picture, just want to ask, what do you all see? What do you see in this picture? What is he standing in front of?
An engine.
Engine. Someone said an engine. Like an airplane engine.
A turbine.
Okay. And so I say that to share is that we both attended North Carolina State University. I started out majoring in political science, and then I figured that that wasn't quite for me. So I transitioned to sociology. And for him, he started out in mechanical engineering. And he later transferred to material science engineering. And while we were attending state together, I couldn't understand early on as freshmen, he was just not available a lot. And I would say, well, why can't we go to the cafe and meet me at the cafe? We're going to go to the student center. And he was really trying to get me to understand the demands of his major. and the demands of being the only Black male in a very difficult program and what those experiences were like. And I got it later, but as a freshman and you go to high school, it was like, man, you always studying, you'll never have any downtime. And so I said it to Sarah now that he is a metallurgist, and he studies alloys. And yes, this is him in front of an engine. And if I'm not mistaken, one of his main clients is Bowen. So yeah, this is Mr. Ed Keys, my best friend, and he's married with 3 kids. And we talked a lot about just what it was like for mental health. And nobody was really talking about it back in the early 90s, but he was just carrying much more stress than I could have ever imagined. And that's still showing up for him now as an engineer. Yes. Next slide. Some of the unique challenges as with Ed, the heavy workloads, right? And so as a sociology major, there were many I had a heavy workload, but for STEM majors, the workload is much more challenging. This imposter syndrome just kicks in, rigorous academic demands for STEM majors, very competitive. I recall him saying, well, I'm not really in the college, I have to matriculate. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, you got accepted, why aren't you in the college? I didn't really understand that level of competition, the gender and diversity gaps, the stigma of mental health. Like, seriously, you just push through it. So many times he would say, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to pull it all night. I was like, you need to rest. Like, you can't just go to the party with us. No, I'm going to be in the library, those types of things. And some of the other unique challenges would be some of the technical skills mastery that he and other my friends who were in STEM majors that they were trying to obtain. I also had a sorority sister who was an EE major, electrical engineering major. Being a Black woman, again, in a male-dominated field was also challenging for her. And she later decided she met a husband who was in chemie. And they decided when they got married that one person had to really kind of step away because it would be very hard to have raise a family with 2 demanding careers. And one of the things that she shared, because of the math courses that she took a lot of math courses in her EE major, she was able to transition to education, a math teacher, and now she's a principal. So that's her success story. Next slide. Okay, so the top 5 things. You're going to play a game here. I want you all to drop in the chat. What do you think are the top 5 challenges for college students when it comes to their mental health? Mm-hmm. Okay, we have time management. Okay, so what do we have here? Okay, so when it comes to the top 5 challenges in regards to mental health for college students, the first one is anxiety. The first one is anxiety. The second one is depression. The third one is substance use disorders. The fourth one is suicide. And the fifth one is relationship violence. Nai, if you can drop that in the chat, suicide, substance use, anxiety, depression, and various forms of relationship violence. And so, as a previous director of a college counseling center, there were many programs, and I served as a college counseling center director during the pandemic. And there were many programs, grants, funds related to these top 5 things, right? And so, what you all are describing are things that are related to it. But when it comes to the top 5 problems that universities are seeing, it is depression, anxiety, suicide, substance use, and relationship violence. And so, to address the top 5 and to lower the numbers and the data associated with high numbers of students experiencing anxiety and depression and substance use, because really, when there are high levels of stress, depending on your major, you may begin to turn. You may not have good coping strategies. You may turn to substance use, right? You may turn to alcohol, or the thoughts of people are coming in with pre-existing mental health challenges and things begin to exacerbate while they're in college, right? And so that's why you may see at universities various programs related to anxiety or depression or groups and support groups, if that makes sense. Okay, next slide. So the mental health challenges for college students, and I talked about pre-existing mental health challenges. A lot of students are coming in with a mental health diagnosis. I want you to know that everyone has mental health, but not everyone has a mental illness. A mental illness is a disease of the brain, and students, if you know, students and people will either see a psychiatrist who specializes in treatment of mental illnesses. 40% do not seek help. 80% feel very overwhelmed due to their responsibilities. And 50% of college students, they become so anxious because that they are struggling in school. And this data was collected from NAMI, with the National Alliance on Mental Illness, but also the Association for University and College Counseling Center Directors. And that was the data when I was speaking of that the top 5, because we realized that from the data and what college centers was reporting is that, okay, we need to plan programs regarding strategies for lowering people who are struggling with depression, anxiety, and addiction and suicide. Next slide. 80% of college, 86% of college students have felt very overwhelmed. Again, over 80% have felt very exhausted. 30% of they have felt too depressed to function, and 6.6% of college students have seriously considered suicide. Again, this data is from that same resource, the American College Health Association, also the Association for College Counseling Center Directors. And so what we're seeing is that there are a high number of students who are feeling very overwhelmed, feeling exhausted. And then, you know, students who have contemplated suicide and who are just felt very low or depressed, and that they have lost their ability to function. Next slide. And so one of the top 5 things that happened at my alma mater, I love my college, but you know, there was a serious issue going on at NC State a few years ago, 2 years ago. 3 students in one NC State program, they died by suicide. And it was a STEM, it was all related. It was in the engineering program. And the research shows one of those challenges I mentioned, high achieving environments. They are very at risk for anxiety and depression. And so if you are a professor or you are an educator in this major, it's important to know that students in STEM majors, they are at risk for experiencing anxiety and depression because of that competitiveness, because of this high achieving environment, because of gender and diversity gaps, being the only one or not seeing a professor who looks like you, or when professors sometimes don't understand mental health, and when students say they may want to take a mental health day, what does that mean for my grant? You know, you're serving that hired you. So it's a number of things, you know, to be concerned about, to keep into consideration regarding mental health in STEM majors. And so Students begin to use their power and to fight back and connect with community resources to kind of figure out what they could do to decrease the number of suicides that they had experienced during this year. Next slide. So we're talking about stress, and it's so important for you to recognize how stress shows up in the body, right? It can show up as fatigue, it can show up as teeth grinding, they can show up as nauseous, having colds, headaches, skin rashes. I know for me, sometimes when I experience high levels of stress, I may break out in hives, insomnia, and muscle tension. And so, by me describing this, I want you to drop in the chat, how does stress show up in your body? What have you noticed? Or if you haven't noticed, maybe you can make the connection. Okay? Disturbed sleep, skin rashes, and anything else? No, yeah, let me see. Fatigue, loss of sleep. Yes, Michelle, I can get very irritable as well. Yes. Thank you all for participating. I love that you're so active. Next slide, Nayan. Okay, so now you are recognizing how stress shows up in your body. And so, as a therapist who specializes in serving individuals who experience trauma, I thought it was very important for you to understand what happens when your fight or flight system goes off. And when we have this fight or flight system, it's how we were designed, right? And so, just imagine right now, wherever you are sitting, if you heard or received notice, or if you receive a text message that there is a tiger or lion roaming outside of your office, right? And so your fight or flight system is going to go off. That's what it's designed to do, to alert you that you don't feel safe. It's letting you know, oh, I don't feel safe. And so what happens, that will increase your stress hormones, your cortisol levels. For some people, when that alarm goes off, they may want to fight and say, well, I'm going to see if I can fight this lion or tiger, and then I feel safer. There's some people who say, oh my God, there is something outside of my office. I'm just going to stay right where I am. And so you're going to freeze. Then some people will say, well, let me get my stuff and see if I can run to my car and get away. That means you're going to, the flight response. And then the fourth one is the fawn response, FAWN, meaning that you're going to try to do something to keep the peace or reduce any type of conflict. And you may consider, well, let me see if I have some food. Maybe the tiger or lion is hungry. So maybe if I just give the tiger or lion some food, whatever is experiencing, he will go away, and then I feel much safer. I feel safer. And so those are the four types of trauma responses. But what happens when it goes off, as I said, it will increase our cortisol levels, but also your palms and your hands may get sweaty. Your heart rate may increase. You may begin to talk faster, or the tone of your voice may get louder. And so everything is increasing for you. It is activating those stress hormones. And then you also experience body-wide changes that we just described in the previous slide. And so what happens is that when that threat is gone, your cortisol level and all of your stress levels will come back down, because that's how your body was designed. It was made and created. And so your parasympathetic nervous system will activate, and you'll be like, okay, the threat is over. I'm okay. But for many of us who work in high stress environments, and that level doesn't go down, it can really create havoc on your body, right? And so when you're in a high competitive, stressful environment, sometimes students are not really having the chance, unless they have the tools to decompress, take deep breaths, to lower some of those rates of anxiety or depression, or heart beating fast, or sadness, or tightness in your body, if that makes sense. Okay, next slide. Okay, so if we're going to talk about resilience and mental health and addressing mental health and some of the needs, we need to dig a little bit deeper into the medical model of just with medication. And I am not a pill pusher, but I do believe um, in medication. I have seen the benefits that my clients have experienced when they go to the doctor or a psychiatrist or their primary care physician when they are in therapy, utilizing tools and taking medication, right? But also looking at how systems of oppression also impact one's mental health, right? I was talking before, excuse me, about gender and diversity gaps, oppression, racism, mass incarceration, trauma, right? When we are experiencing some form of trauma, how that impacts mental health, neglect, sometimes students from impoverished neighborhoods or families or upbringing, they have lack of resources that may impact how they show up in the classroom. So it's so important to keep that in mind when we think about addressing mental health and things of that nature regarding STEM students, especially for students from marginalized communities and having access to things. Absolutely. So, what is resilience, right? We know that it is a combination of things, being able to bounce back from something and moving forward. Strength and having insight. What do I gain from this hardship? Really, it's about being able to adapt well in the face of adversity, trauma, stress, and significant sources of pressure. And when I talked to students at ERN this past April at the conference, it was rewarding to hear how some of the experiences they had, how they were able to bounce back, how they were able to say, Dr. Brown, I didn't consider, what this experience meant to me, or how can I move forward. So it's going to be really important that you help students create this mindset of that, okay, we're going to go through it. If you're having a hard day, feel your feelings, take what you need to do, and you also develop and come back and have that conversation. What did you learn about yourself when you experienced hardship, or you had to change majors, or you experienced significant amount of stress, or you experienced some sort of discrimination in your program, right? There are going to be certain things that you can change. There are going to be certain things that you can't change, right? And so helping students to be able to develop that resilient mindset is also important to their mental health, because when they are stuck, it can exacerbate feelings of anxiety and depression. I can't do this. I can't do this. No, I'm never going to get out this program. Nobody is seeing how my study, why I want to do the certain study that I want to do. And so it's so important to really help students understand and develop that strength and insight, and have conversations with them that can say, what did you learn about yourself after this semester? Or what did you learn about yourself that you weren't able to go to summer school, but now you can start in the fall and you can have a fresh mindset, if that makes sense. Next slide. Excuse me. Some of the core concepts, as I was just speaking of, is the emotional regulation, right? Self-efficacy, being really flexible, cognitive flexibility, having them looking at your development resilience, the core, and your purpose and your meaning, and having support networks is really important to foster a mindset of resilience. Who in my community, maybe people in my major or people outside of my major. I was a part of Ed's support system. I was outside his major, and I didn't know a lot about material science, engineering, but we were able to support each other. He supported me in my major. I supported him. So it's great to be open to people outside of your major, to expand that and support each other, right? When you're thinking of being resilient and fostering that mindset, having networks, and that network can also include your mentor, because sometimes you will need to bounce off ideas regarding your studies or things of that nature. Anything can come up, so it's important to really have mentors as part of that support network. Next slide. excuse me, some of the common misconceptions about being resilient, right? And so I just mentioned community. Like one of the common misconceptions that I have to do this alone. Being resilient means I can do it all alone. I'm not going to ask for help. But resilient people really focus on strong support systems. And that's why it's so important for students to create a support network, someone beyond their advisor and a couple of people in their program, because you're not doing it alone. You can't get through this just doing something by yourself. Also, this mindset of that you either have it or you don't, right? But resilience is a skill set that can be built over time. So if I experience a hardship like Ed for some reason in the freshman year, he decided to switch his major from material science. And if I'm not mistaken, it was something that he felt that, it just the program just didn't align with him. But that he didn't give up, right? He said, okay, so this particular major isn't going to work for me, but I'm going to find one that does. And so he was able to really build on his resilience and that skill set that it's not about if I don't have it for a mechanical engineer or I don't. It was about if I don't have it for mechanical engineering, perhaps there's another degree that will work for me. And he was able to find that and move forward. Resilience means never feeling overwhelmed. That is a very misconception, a huge misconception. Resilient people do feel stress. I am resilient. I do feel pain. I also experience doubt, but I have learned to work through it. And so again, I would encourage educators, professors, if you are mentored, to help people know, let people know that it's okay if you're experiencing stress. That's part of the journey. That's part of the process, but you work through it. What tools do you have to work through it so that you don't become extremely stressed or very anxious, and it can exacerbate in some of those top 5 problems that college students are dealing with, if that makes sense. Next slide. Why does it matter? Why does resilience matter in STEM? Because it helps students navigate the high expectations, right? So if something doesn't work out or this is what expected of you, being resilient really helps students navigate the high expectations, handling that failure as feedback. Okay, so there was a student that shared that, students at the conference are submitting and presenting their studies, their presentations. And one of the students shared, Dr. Brown, it was a huge blow for me, some of the feedback that I got from one of the judges. And so, and it took this particular student some time to kind of bounce back. But there were people in her community who were saying, okay, well, that's just one judge that's providing that feedback, right? That is not everyone's feedback or thoughts on your presentation. So handling feedback is going to be important. That's why resilience matters when you're getting feedback on your studies, on your papers, or things that you're doing, and helping students to understand that you fell forward. Okay, so this judge saying that there's something with this study I need to tweak, or there's something with my major, or whatever the case may be, but it's really in those high competitive environments that they learn how to move forward, right? And how to handle that feedback. Being resilient, it really prevents burnout, right? So being able to say that, okay, I'm going to take a break. I deserve rest. I can't do everything in one setting. I'm not going to do everything in this one semester. What can I do and break it down in small steps, helping prevent burnout. That really helps prevents burnout. Okay. And also, it matters because when you're thinking about working under pressure, you really can be innovative while working under pressure. And I think sometimes that students may not recognize that. So it's the reframing part, helping them so you're under pressure that you can still be innovative, if that makes sense. Next slide. Oh boy, here come imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is a big old bully. My first experience with imposter syndrome was in my doctoral program. And really questioning if I belong there. It was holding me back. It can steal the sense of who you think you are. How will you be perceived? Achievements and success about luck. It was like, no, I deserve to be here. I applied to get into this program. It's a very competitive program. I can do it. It disproportionately affects women more than men. But imposter syndrome, if you don't get a handle on it or have tools to deal with it, it can really impact your well-being and mental health, and it can really cripple you, right? And imposter syndrome can be linked to childhood emotional neglect, internal messages, not belonging, and discrimination. I call it a bully because it steals your voice. It holds you back. You want to present or you want to do something at a conference? I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. I don't think I can do this. So it's so important that we address imposter syndrome, and because it really shows up significantly in higher numbers for those STEM majors in high competitive environments. Next slide. Okay, so we have some time here. So with this activity, I'm going to provide you with some tips to manage imposter syndrome. One of the first way is to acknowledge your feelings, right? You have to acknowledge what you are feeling. And I want to invite you all to engage in make a list of your wins and accomplishments. And sometimes we fall back or we're not able to see our wins. And so right now, I want you to join me and write down 3 of your wins or your accomplishments. And I asked 2 people to share. Okay, what do we have in the chat?
Nothing yet. Waiting
Nothing
for some
yet.
participation.
I know you all have some wins and accomplishments. Brag on yourself. This is the time to brag on you. Okay, Alexander, what did Alexander share?
One win is that I got accepted into a medical sciences program.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Michelle said, centering my values in my career.
Yes. Thank you, Michelle.
It's not easy to do.
It is not.
Raised healthy children, secure and a rewarding job.
Yes.
Completion of your doctorate. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Doc.
Consistent with your gym routine, eating more whole foods, and a recent selection to go to CMU Africa for summer school, submitting a cat adoption application. Those are all important things.
Yes, and you all, one of the strategies I encourage you to do is to keep a jar of your wins, right? So when negative Nancy pops up, I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve this, right? You can go into your jar of wins. You can decorate it, create it, make it look like whatever you want to. You can personalize it. You and pull that out. Say, yeah, I do deserve this. Yeah. Hey, I did this. I completed my doc program. Or I am consistent with my gym routine. Make a list of your wins and accomplishments is a strategy to manage imposter syndrome. I mentioned negative Nancy. Negative Nancy is also a bully as well. That thought of inner critic, you don't deserve this, you're not good enough, and you have to silence negative Nancy. You have to understand that, okay, negative Nancy is popping up, but I got a list of wins that says I am deserving of this. I am good enough. I deserve this fellowship, right? I was rewarded this fellowship. I earned it. Reframe things with positive. Reframe some of the negative Nancy inner critic thoughts with positive affirmations. Seeking mentorship and community is going to be so important. Embrace imperfections. Show up as your authentic self. when you have presentations. Like, I'm not perfect, but I know enough that somebody's going to walk away empowered, inspired. Somebody's going to walk away with some tools that they didn't have, showing up as my authentic self. Focus on progress, not perfection. Perfection does not exist. Perfection does not exist. I know many students, I know many people, I know many adults who struggle with perfectionism, but it does not exist. When you focus on progress, you keep moving forward. But what I heard from students that I have to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect, 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 perfect. And then they're staying up all night. They're not resting. They're not eating. They're not working out because it has to be perfect. And then you get your feedback. It's like, well, this was great, but this. It was like, well, I thought it needed to be perfect. Nothing was wrong, but you're still going to get feedback, right? And so helping students to really focus on tips to manage that imposter syndrome, focus on your progress. One semester down, one to go. Also, just taking some deep breaths. When you're acknowledging your feelings, just taking some deep breaths to recenter yourself will help you move forward. Next slide. Now the affirmations. I belong here. My talents and contributions matter. I work really hard to get here. It is not a mistake that I'm in this program, that I was accepted. Perfection is not required for me to make a difference. One I like to use before I speak. Perfection is not required for me to leave people with a transformative experience. Somebody's going to gain something. I was chosen to do this for a reason. I believe in myself and my capabilities. How about I believe in myself and I also experience some doubt? Two things can be true. I deserve this. This is one that I share with the students a lot during the conference. You deserve to be here. You deserve to be here. Last ones, I don't know everything, but what I do know is valuable and worth sharing. I don't know everything about resilience and mental health, but what I do know, what I'm sharing today is very valuable and it is worth sharing. Okay, we have 5 minutes left before Q&A, and I want you all to create one affirmation. And I ask 2 people to share that with us. Janelle, I deserve to be here. Okay, that's a good one. Let me type mine in. Okay, what do we have, Naya?
All right, we have I deserve to be here. I deserve all good things coming my way. Sometimes you have to cut back to grow in a new direction. I deserve to be a dentist. I am worthy even though I don't feel like it sometimes. You have to break down to break through.
Great. So another tool is that you create an affirmation jar. You have your wins and accomplishments, and then you can create an affirmation box, jar, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to put it in. That's helpful as well on this journey, on your journey, and just in life. Sometimes it's important to just reaffirm yourself. I deserve to be here. I deserve all good things coming my way. So you have your affirmation jar or your box, and you also have a list of your wins and that you can include and pull out when you need them. Next slide, Naya. And so boundaries again, with boundaries, you teach people how to treat you. You really inform people what's permissible, and how you do that is you have to be assertive. You have to be assertive sometimes with your community, and sometimes, depending on the relationship that you have with people, you provide an explanation. But no is a complete sentence, right? And you don't have to explain everything to everyone. Again, it would depend on the relationship. So boundaries are important for your mental health as well. It's going to be important that you have limitations with family members. If you sometimes you spend time working on your projects on the weekend and having like, this is my work boundary. I don't know how many people struggle, like drop by show of hands by one or two. How many people struggle with work emails, right? Looking at work emails after you get off work, or looking at your school emails. And I'm working on that as well. Like one of my friends suggested that, maybe to take the app off your phone. And the only time that you would see your work emails if you open your laptop. I said, wow. I would definitely have to work on that one. But I see what that would do if I had a boundary up. So how many people struggle with that, Naya?
I'm seeing a couple hands. I'm seeing a couple thumbs up as well. Maybe more than they'd like to admit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, thank you for being open, yes, and sharing. Yeah, being honest, transparent, your authentic self. Absolutely. Next slide. Okay, I've already discussed this. I want to go to the next slide. Okay, yeah, so I want to talk about some stress management tools. You all have already described some of them: exercise, yoga, meditation, prayer, box breathing exercise when you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. That really is helpful to kind of reset yourself and centering yourself and grounding. There's grounding exercises, thinking of 5 things that you can see, thinking of your senses, 4 things that you can hear, thinking about your 5 senses up here that can help recenter yourself if taking a deep breath doesn't work. Not everyone responds to deep breaths, but sometimes thinking of your senses, what are you looking at? What are you hearing? What are you smelling? What do you taste? What do you smell can really help recenter yourself. Looking at your sleep hygiene, I mentioned it before. Journaling is a way to get the feelers out, spending maybe 5 to 10 minutes in the morning or 5 to 10 minutes after your day, just kind of journaling and getting the junk out your mind, right? Getting negative Nancy out your mind, getting the imposter syndrome out your mind, getting those bullies in your mind to try to cripple you. Just put all that out on paper. The last one, community. Again, finding your community and being involved in your community and being open in your authentic self with your community. You don't always have to spend time with them, but just finding people who can support your overall well-being and your goals. Okay. These are some apps again for students. If you have a student email, some of them are free. I'm not sure if Headspace or Calm is still offering it, but you can definitely check it out. Check out the Calm app. Relax Mentally is a free app. Liberate is an app that was created by 2 Black individuals, 4 Black people. So they have some meditations regarding oppression, racism, discrimination that students and some of my clients have found very helpful. Insight Timer is a good one as well. They offer progressive muscle relaxation, which is a tool that if you're struggling with sleeping or if you have breakthrough sleeping, because when your body isn't relaxed, your mind can't relax, and it may be difficult for you to rest. And so trying something such as progressive muscle relaxation will be helpful. I know that it's offered on Insight Timer, but if you don't want to pay for it, you can also Google progressive muscle relaxation. Breathe to Relax is an app. And again, and this is recorded, you get it. But one I want to drop is the Dailyo app. So if you know that you struggle with your mood, the Dailyo, Naya, is Daylio. The Dailyo app is a mood tracker. Yes, Michael. Yes, music is coming from me as well. Yes, Naya, thank you. The Dailyo is a mood tracker, and it is free. And why I recommend it, because it's important for you to capture the data on mood fluctuations, right? So if you're noticing that during high levels of stress that you're feeling kind of low, you just got kind of in a funk, um, then you can look at the data and say, okay, well, when I had this, or when I had to present, or when I was staying up all last night, I noticed my mood. Then you can tweak some things, right? And then you can tweak some things and say, okay, well, I can do some things differently. But sometimes if you're not tracking your mood, you don't know. The Dailyo app isn't just for people who are experiencing depression. I have recommended to my clients who are not experiencing depression, but just experiencing some kind of fluctuation in their mood that could give them some information on how to tweak their wellness tools and strategies, if that makes sense. So the Dailyo is a great tool to track your mood. And okay, the last question is, what can you do to cultivate resilience and wellness in yourself? What can you do to cultivate resilience and wellness in yourself? Feel free to drop that in the chat. More affirmations. Better work light. Take time to breathe. Yes. Do more breathing. Body signals. Yes. Paying attention to your body, Alexander. Absolutely. Recognizing what your body is telling you. The body does keep score. There's a book called The Body Keeps Score. Recognizing what your body is telling you. Your body will tell you things, but we have to listen to it. We do have to listen to it. Encourage and appreciate myself more. Yeah. Well, thank you all. This concludes my presentation. I have enjoyed learning with you. Yeah, and this is some additional things to cultivate resilience and wellness, growth mindset, things that you're already talking about. But I want to leave time for some Q&A. Yes.